Hey team, so today's question comes from Nathan Aguirre. He's one of the athletes that I personally work with and coach, and he asked a question of what should I do the morning of a 5K, and his question was actually revolved around, he says, I was also wondering if you would consider doing a video on the channel covering the morning of a 5K or 10K race. How early before the start would you recommend getting up, as well as how long the warm-up should be, pre-race meal, snacks, recommendations. So whether you're running a 5K or you're training for a 10 miler or a half marathon or marathon, really getting up at least 2 hours before your race, anywhere from 2 to 3 hours before your race, to get breakfast. Make sure that your food is digested. You have plenty of time to get to, not only get rid of that food, eliminate that, and not have to run the risk of having to be in the race and have to jump in a porta-john and lose substantial amounts of time. Without question, I would recommend a minimum of 2 hours, preferably between 2 and 3 hours, in terms of when you should get up before your 5K race. Never wait until the last minute. Don't have the alarm set for like an hour before the race. You definitely want to give yourself between 2 or 3 hours of time to get up, get some coffee in you, or juice, or whatever you'd like to drink before the start of your race. But make sure that you give yourself plenty of time for your breakfast to digest, and get rid of that, obviously, plenty of time before it's the start of your race. In terms of how long the warm-up should be, whether it's a marathon, obviously, or half marathon, I wouldn't go any further really than a mile or 2 miles. But in terms of the 5K, and what should I do the morning of a 5K, I would probably go anywhere from about 2 to 3 miles, nice and easy, really relaxed pace. 2 to 3 miles, no further than 3 miles, the start of a 5K, and then after the race, jog about a mile or two, or just a few kilometers after the race, just to get that, shake out some of the lactic acid that you build up in the race itself. If you can, the days after a 5K, getting a massage is great. Taking an ice bath a few hours after that particular race is always helpful. You can definitely recover a lot faster after a 5K race versus a 10-mile half marathon or marathon event. So the shorter the race, obviously it's much more anaerobic in nature, so it's over really quick. Versus if you're running a 10-mile half marathon, even a 10K is somewhat different than a 5K. It's twice the distance, but you still have to focus on what are the other things I can do before and after my races that will help me to recover quicker and to continue to train extremely hard, and more importantly, make sure that I'm adapting to the hard training I'm doing. So yeah, without question, give yourself about 2 to 3 hours prior to the start of your race to get up. Have plenty of time. Some of you are deep sleepers. My brother, literally, a freight train could go through the house and he wouldn't even hear it when he's asleep. I'm a very light sleeper, so I can wake up really quick. Probably because of 20 years on active duty in the military, I can really move really quick if I have to. But definitely make sure that alarm clock is set prior to the night before. Have all of your gear set out. Continue to visualize what you want to do leading up to the several weeks, several months training for your 5K. Make sure you're paying attention to mental rehearsal, mental visualization, because physical training is only 50% of the work. And the vast majority of athletes are really only focusing on physical preparation for their 5K races, 10K longer races. Remember, we have to train both the mind as well as the body in order to produce a superior result. I've learned this from some of the world's top distance runners, even some of the world's top coaches that I was fortunate to work personally with. They all focused on this idea of training both the mind as well as the body. Okay, so it doesn't take more than about 10 to 15 minutes each day to rehearse, to see yourself getting across the finish line with that goal 5K time or goal marathon time or whatever event you're training for. You have to see yourself achieving the goal time or that goal result that you're aiming for well in advance. Okay, so again, if you want to be average, just do the physical training. Just focus on getting out and putting in the tempo runs and doing the track workouts. But if you really want to be exceptional at what you're doing, then you have to make sure that you're also duplicating what the world's best runners do. And they pay attention very strictly to their diet, getting plenty of sleep. They do strength training. It may not be getting in the gym twice a week, but they do spend some time in the gym doing light weights, heavy, high reps, low weight. Okay, some athletes want to do heavier weight. Again, it really just depends on your particular preference. I myself always focused on heavier or lighter weights with higher reps. Okay, so I was really always focused on recruiting more fast twitch muscle fibers. Okay, the only way you're going to be able to do that is by doing explosive type activities, doing strides, 5 to 6 100-meter strides twice per week during your build-up, strength training, any type of fast sprints. Okay, repeat 200s, repeat 300s on the track, repeat miles, repeat 2 miles on the track. Any of those types of really fast anaerobic type workouts will help you recruit more fast twitch muscle fibers. Okay, you're not going to get that type of physiological boost from doing easy aerobic running. Okay, yes, you're burning fat. Yes, you're burning endurance, or you're building your endurance. But to race fast over the 5K distance or any distance and to be able to sustain it effectively, you have to stress the energy systems of the body adequately. Okay, you cannot just spend 90 to 95% of your weekly volume running easy aerobic mileage. You have to get out there and really stress yourself, but also pay attention to those recovery days and making sure that you're jogging and ensuring that you're running aerobically enough that you're going to be able to adapt to the hard training that you're doing. So in terms of some of the things I really think you need to be thinking about to really succeed over the 5K distance, without question, make sure your pacing is on point. Do not go out too fast. Do not try to win the 5K in the first mile of your race. There are far too many runners out there that are going out way too aggressive, going into oxygen debt, and being forced to slow down in the last 2.1 miles of that race. My recommendation is do not try to make a move in your 5K. If you have upcoming 5K in the next few weeks, make your move once you hit that first mile. Okay, or if you're focusing on kilometers, around the 1.6 kilometer point in the race, that's when you start to really attack. Because if you go out aggressively, you can go out the first 200 meters in an all-out sprint and not build up any lactic acid. So it's fine to get out really quick, but settle into your pace after about 200 meters into the race. And then settle into your pace, relax, stay calm, stay in control. And then once you hit that first mile, that's where you really zero in. Okay, that's where you really attack, and you run as hard as you possibly can for that last 2.1 miles of the race. So in terms of your question, Nathan, give yourself a minimum of 2 hours, okay, preferably about 3 hours before the start of your race to get up and to eat breakfast. Make sure everything is set out the night before your race, and this goes for any of you, whether you're training for the 5K or regardless of what distance you're preparing for. Have all of your stuff set out the night before the race. Get to your race, preferably the night before or a couple days before. If you have, if you're doing international travel, I would get to a race obviously 5 days before if you can, if you have that luxury. But to kind of just adjust to the time changes, and just relax. Stay in control. Be confident in what you've done the past few weeks, the past few months leading up to your 5K event. And don't overthink, okay? The hard training has already been done. The day of the race is the celebration of that hard work, okay? So let your competition be uptight. Let them be nervous. Let them be overly concerned about who's in the race. Don't focus on who, if you know the athletes that are coming into the race and you know some of their times, fantastic, okay? But what it comes down to is what you can do on that particular morning, okay? You have no control of what the other athletes have run, or don't do your best not to compare yourself to those athletes. Just focus on your particular race and staying on your pace and not going out too fast. So I hope this answers your question, Nathan. And if any of you have any other questions, feel free to leave me a comment below this video. Definitely check out the resources below all of my videos that are there to help you make that next jump in your training and in your racing. And I will talk to you all in the next video.